Hey everybody, this is my 500 subscriber Q&A that was requested by SlyFoxFan9. He said once I hit 400 subscribers to do a Q&A. That was when I was probably at about 390 subscribers, so I said let's do it at 500. That way it's a more realistic number, more of a milestone number. And I hit that quite a while ago, so thank you everybody. Dead Island just finished being uploaded. Again, I apologize for how long that took. It's a very, very long game. We plowed through it in 2 days straight, and stacked that on top of my extremely slow internet connection. I'm stuck with apartment-only internet, and it's terrible. So it's taken quite a while, but the goal of this channel is not to have non-stop game footage being uploaded. It's to be an archive of horror games, and we have fun also in the side. That way it's not all serious business. Like, anything on this channel is fucking serious anyway. Alright, so I got a few questions. Not too terribly many, but still quite a bit. These are really good questions, though. I'm impressed at the quality of the questions. So I'm just going to get right into it. First one is by SlyFoxFan9. Hey Grog, just wanted to know, how did you meet Phil, Justin, and John? Thanks. P.S. You're awesome. Slyfox, you're also awesome. Thank you for watching. First time I met John and Phil was at the same time. It was MWC, I'm sorry, Midwest Championships, which is a Street Fighter tournament, and it was in 2009. They had both. That was when HD Remix was one of the first majors when HD Remix launched, and they had Arcade ST. So for me, it was like 2 good games in one tournament. Fuck yeah, I'm there. Plus, it's in Chicago. I'm in Iowa. It's only 6 hours away. Why not? I knew who John was because he's placed well at Evolution. He got 9th place, I believe, in, I forgot what year, 07 or 08. So, I mean, I knew who he was. I, of course, knew who Phil was. So we played, I actually had to play in Arcade ST. I had to play John Rambo. I think this was the second round of the tournament, second or third. I actually had to play him, and I knew he was a sim player. He knew I was a sim player. And so we just said, fuck it, let's do it. Dalzamir, he beat me. But it was very close, and I thought, you know what, I think I can figure him out. I'm going to stick with Dalzam, and then I beat him. So in the 2 out of 3 tournament, we were 1-1, and the motherfucker switches to Honda. Honda is a hard counter, not for Dalzam, but for me. I have a mental block against winning against Honda and Chun-Li in Super Turbo. He didn't know that at the time, but because Honda is a tough matchup for Dalzam. It's also a tough matchup for Honda. It puts both players to the limits, I believe. So that's how I really met John. He put me into losers brackets. I won a few more games in that same tournament for Arcade Super Turbo, and then I had to play Phil. And Phil beat me pretty bad in that. This is before I learned the Balrog, the Boxer, Dalzam matchup. And I got beat really bad by things I shouldn't have been beaten by. I think, in retrospect, I think I would like to rematch him now if he played Rog, which he doesn't anymore. So yeah, that was really bad. And then, it wasn't about a couple hours later, I got top 8 in HD Remix, and I had to play Phil in top 8. And he picked Blanca on me, which I thought, sweet, I love this matchup. And I beat him pretty bad with, I shouldn't say pretty bad, that's really overstating things. But yeah, I beat him with Dalzam, and then he immediately switched back to Boxer and went 2-0 on me. It was very good matches, fun times. We chatted, not as much. I chatted more with John than with Phil. I think Phil was trying to keep away from people that... He was already at YouTube popularity. He wasn't as over as he is now, I don't think, but he was still really high up there. And so he was like, who's this guy, you know? This is really before we knew who each other were. And then, ever since after that, me and John have chatted quite a bit. And then I went to Evolution, which was just a month after that, for HD Remix. And John Rambo just happened to be there also. And so he's like, hey, we know each other, we're both Dalzam players. You're from East Coast. Yeah, you're from Midwest. And so, we hung out a lot there. We, didn't really play each other. I don't think we did once in any casuals or tournament at Evolution, but we chatted quite a bit, and after that we gave each other our AIM names, and we instant messaged each other quite a bit, and we've been friends, pretty good friends ever since. We hadn't seen each other for 2 years until UFGT 7 this year, and that's the first time I've seen both of them since. And you know, from chatting with them on AIM, playing games on GGPO and stuff, we were a lot closer. We were actually friends, and it wasn't acquaintances. And so we hung out, and you saw some of you saw the videos. We drove around and stuff, left the tournament, had a lot of fun. And you're all thinking, Grog, you forgot someone. What about Justin? Well, I've never met him. Sorry, man, I like you a lot, but we've never met, so I really can't say how I know you, or how I met you. I know him through don'tblowthis.com. I know he's an East Coast Super Turbo player, but that's all I really know. His voice and mannerisms do kind of sound like me. I noticed that in the Dead Island playthrough. Here's to meeting you, though, Justin. I hope we can actually see each other sometime. Next question. Well, questions is actually from Try Again. He was on the King of Hate forums. He sent this to me. And I'm actually really impressed with these questions. He has 4 of them. First one. Which was the very first horror game you've ever played? That's a tough one, man. It's been a very long time since I'm old. I'm actually not that old. I just turned 25, but... First one that jumps out of my mind is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. And it wasn't mine at the time. I went over to a neighbor's house. I mean, in my neighborhood growing up, we all hung out. It was like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. All the kids hung out with each other. And we all played it. Made it to the police station, and the infamous window salesman scene made us all shit our pants. So, I'm really thinking back, I don't remember playing any actual true horror game before that. I guess you could maybe count, like, Nightmare on Elm Street on an NES and Friday the 13th. But, I mean, I don't really count those as true horror games, really, because they are knockoffs of a horror movie. So they're not original titles. So I'm going to stick with my original answer, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. After that, I played Director's Cut, and then Silent Hill. Alright, his second question. Which horror game or series is your favorite? Hands down, Silent Hill, without any question. A lot of people will say, well, that's a pretty overrated answer. Well, it's overrated for a reason. I think they get atmosphere perfect. I'm talking the original 3. I've still never played 4, haven't played Origins. Of course, I have a playthrough of Homecoming up, which I really enjoyed Homecoming. The first time I played Homecoming, it was meh. It was too action-packed. I didn't like it too much. I actually stopped halfway through, and I mentioned that in the playthrough. And then I started up again, and I fell in love with it. It's really good, I think. But Silent Hill is more than just, oh, a dog jumped out of the window. Fuck. Oh, okay, it got me. Let's keep going. It makes you so you don't want to keep going. They have such a good atmosphere. They also have like rooms that I call them fuck you rooms. You walk into the room and there's nothing in there, but like you can't get out until it scares you, until it does something psychological to you. I love that kind of stuff. I think Silent Hill does that the best. They know how to do environment, they know how to do psychological scares, and it's not all cheap scares. Biggest complaint about Silent Hill is that they are notoriously dark. And I've said this quite a few times, dark does not always mean scary. If something's done right and it's dark, yeah, I think Amnesia does that really well. But sometimes it can be too dark where you can't see how you're playing, and it takes the fun away. And if you're not having fun, you're not enjoying the game. But, I mean, I think everything else in Silent Hill far, far outweighs that. I guess you guys probably want a second series, because that one's such an obvious answer. I'm having a tough time thinking of a second series that I can call a favorite. I guess the Resident Evil series, maybe. I really don't like where that game has went from 4 and on, 4 and 5. I do not like those. 4 is a good game in its own right. I think it could have went with a different name. Possibly, I mean, keep the same character. Make it the same characters and everything. Just call it like, I don't know, call it Biohazard. Because that's not the American name. But if you call it that, it is more encompassing of what's going on in the story of the game, I think, than just zombies. Which is what we associate Resident Evil to. Another horror series. I'm really having a tough time thinking of that. I guess you could also say what are they called? The Macintosh adventure games or Apple adventure games? Shadowgate and Uninvited. I just love those two. I don't know why. They're really not that great in retrospect, but maybe it's nostalgia goggles for me, but I like those a lot too. Alright, third question from Try Again. I like this question a lot, actually. Do you plan to do additional videos, for example reviews or detailed analysis of games, on your channel? Or maybe even things that are not directly related to games, for example horror movies? I've actually been thinking about this for quite a while. On top of horror movies, on top of horror games, I do enjoy RPGs. Thing is, you can't do playthroughs of RPGs. I grind and I grind when I play them. I will sit for a week and just level up in one spot. And I'm thinking, how can I do this? And I do want to do something with these eventually, because I have limited myself by making it horror games only. There is a cap of how many horror games are out, and I will reach it in maybe 20 years, but realistically, no. I have limited myself by doing it horror games. And I would like to do, like, say, Final Fantasy reviews or something like that. That would be a lot of fun, I think. It won't happen anytime in the near future. I will say that right now. So don't get your hopes up if it even happens. But I was thinking just do, like, spliced footage, you know, just like maybe 5-minute clips. Have, like, here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene, while I talk over what I liked, what I disliked about the game, and stuff like that. As for analysis on horror games, that's probably not going to happen. I do a review, or more like a reflection after I do a playthrough, so that'll probably be as close as there is. But I think with a full playthrough, because again, I want this channel to be an actual archive of every horror game on console. So that's already pushing the limits, I think. And then the second part of the question, or not directly related to games, for example, horror movies. Well, that's a damn good idea. In fact, it's such a good idea. After I read that, it's been in my head for quite a while. The date right now is September 27th, so I've been sitting on these questions for a while. I've been waiting for Dead Island to get closer to finishing before I do this. I went to a used bookstore that also sells DVDs. I said, I'm going to give myself $50. I'm going to buy some horror movies, because believe it or not, I don't own a single horror movie except for the Silent Hill movie, which I think is a decent movie for being a game movie. And I got a good 8 movies. I may do that. I may just do reviews. I mean, of course, I'm not just going to upload the whole movie and get all my shit taken down. But I may do horror movie reviews. It won't be anything constant. It will be very few and very far in between, obviously. I'm having a tough time keeping up on game playthroughs. But I like that idea. So that will probably happen in the next 3-4 months, I would say. Again, that's really far off. My channel's only been around since March. But I got a pretty full plate right now. But I do like that. And it'll be more of a medium to get me to watch more movies too, which is another reason why I started this channel, is to get me to play these games that I have that I would never play any other way. Doing recordings, having people want to watch has inspired me to, or really motivated me to keep playing more and more and more. So maybe doing that will make me watch more movies too, which I really don't do. So, there you go. Alright, and his fourth question. What is your definition of survival horror? What makes a game scary in your opinion? Fuck me, that is a can of worms, dude. I'm not going to go too deep into it. It's something that every horror fan thinks about. There is no actual definition of survival horror. There is not. Everyone has their own opinion on what it is, and some people will state their opinion is fact. There is not a true definition of the genre. To me, I think it has to have a bunch of key factors. The first 2 main obvious ones are you have to be in a horror setting, and you have to be trying to survive. So if you're not doing either of those 2, it's not a survival horror. It might be a horror-themed game. It might be a survival game, but then it won't be survival horror. Say, for example... oh shit, my brain just fried. I won't think of a real game, then I'll just make one up. Think of like a horror game, like you're fighting a bunch of zombies and shit, a bunch of skeletons. Okay, Diablo. There's one. That is a horror game. It has zombies, has skeletons, the devil himself, lots of blood. It's not survival horror. You're not really surviving. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's a good enough analogy. More importantly are the other key factors, I think. To be truly survival horror, I think the developer or the writer or whoever was most involved, I think they have to have the intent to scare you. It can have elements of other survival horror games, but then not try to scare you. Say, oh, what's that game that just came out where the guy has this big boner? I forgot the name of it. I'm sorry, guys. You're all going to give me flack for that. New title that just came out on Xbox 360 and PS3. But that has a bunch of elements from survival horror, but they don't try to scare you in that game. So I think that's a big key factor. It can't be unintentional scares either. It has to be intended. It can't be, there's a scene when the lights go off and something jumps out at you even though it's not supposed to be. That doesn't make the game itself a survival horror. That just makes that one part in that game scary. Couple other factors. Actually, no, that's about all I got. I'm having brain farts on that one. Those are the 3 most important things to me, though. And then he also said, this is just kind of a note he put. He probably didn't intend for me to say this, but, well, tough. Detailed analysis of horror games might be something quite interesting and unique, I guess. I haven't seen much of that on YouTube. The only one that I can remember is The Real Silent Hill Experience, which I am following on Twitter, actually. It's just an idea, but I'm pretty sure that it would increase your fan base even more. At least I would love to see stuff like that, excuse me. I'm not too concerned about my fan base. Okay, that came out wrong. I'm not concerned about increasing my fan base. I'm not looking for numbers. I'm just looking to have fun and put up videos. And again, like I said, I probably won't be doing detailed analysis of horror games. I agree there's not much out there on YouTube, which is why I did decide to have an archive of every horror game playthrough. It won't be too detailed at the end. I will try and do, as I play games, write notes of things I think that are good, notes of things that I think are bad that they can improve on, and I'll be sure to read those notes as I'm doing my reflection at the end. I think that would improve the quality, make it a bit deeper of an analysis of the game. So good, very good suggestions. I thank you. Try again. That's a really good message you sent me. All right, next is from Grung138. Grog, what is your favorite zombie killing weapon? Now, I'm gonna have to say 2 different things here. There's 2 types of zombies: the old style and the new style. What I mean by old style is they're slow, cumbersome. They could be actual dead that came from the graves. They could be T-virus style. Either way, they're very hard to kill, you know. They're very slow, very stupid. For those kind of zombies, I like a shotgun. Very basic, but it is so effective against them. They're not going to come after you too fast. You can just slowly wait for them to kind of just stumble right in front of you, and blam, you got a hole in their stomach. Or aim it up like a nemesis, and there goes their head. For the newer ones that are running after you, like Left 4 Dead, or Dead Island even, that's a tough question, because I don't like guns against them, because they're too quick and I'm too terrible at aiming. I guess if I had to say, well, obviously in Dead Rising 2, I really like those knife gloves. But for those, really, I prefer a chainsaw in general. It's very effective in almost all games, except for Dead Rising 2. It was pretty bad in that. But chainsaws work really well against something that's coming up on you. You just hold it out in front of you and they die. If they go around you, you can just turn. You don't have to really be precise with it or anything. Hope that answers your question. Next question. I am apologizing now. I'll probably mispronounce it. It's Ghibli Neko. Might be Ghibli Neko. It's Ghibli Neko. Neko, of course, Japanese for cat. Nihongo de kaiwa dekimasu. Hello, I noticed that you have the Darkstalker's Sasquatch as your avatar. Do you happen to play him in that fighting game, or is he just your avatar for the hell of it? I find him to be quite devastating in Vampire Savior myself. Thanks for the time. No, thank you for submitting the question. Funny story, when I first joined Shoryuken.com, I always refer to it as SRK, I joined, and this is in 06, and back when I was really new to fighters, to competitive fighters I should say, not new to fighters, but I was really wanting to learn everything. I was always following the Family Fun Arcade, Third Strike videos from California. That was like the mecca of Street Fighter. If you want to be good at Street Fighter, doesn't matter which one, because back then all you had was 2 and 3, and maybe Alpha if you liked obscure stuff. You went to FFA, Family Fun Arcade, and that's where you leveled up back in the day. And so I was really into it, and Sonny, who you've heard in quite a few of the videos, told me about SRK. He used to tell me about it a lot. It used to be one of the funniest forums in the world. Not so much anymore, but I signed up, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a fighting game forum. I need a fighting game character, but I really don't give 2 shits about Street Fighter characters. I mean, I play dolls them, but I don't think that any of them are truly interesting characters that I want as an avatar. Hey, Sasquatch looks like a happy motherfucker. Yeah, I'll pick him. And that's where it started. That's all it is. It was him. It was a frozen still of his avatar, like kind of I have on YouTube, only his full body doing the dancing clap. And then someone, I apologize, maybe if you watch this, sweet, but whoever you are, I forgot who did this, turned it into an animated GIF, and I use that as an avatar of him nonstop doing that taunt dance. He doesn't do that in the game. He just does 1 rep of it. It's like 1, 2, done. But with the avatar that I have on there, he's the happiest guy in the world when he does that. And then a few years later after that, a guy on there named Mixa, M-I-X-A-H, good friend of mine, he upgraded even more, put in a blue background, added grog above the hands. And so that's always just stuck with me. That's always been an identifier. When I go to tournaments, somehow people I've never met before, people who I have no idea who you are, they know who I am because of that avatar. And so it's just been a mainstay since. Now, as for your question, do I play him? I started playing him in Vampire Savior because I had it as an avatar. It wasn't the other way around. I had the avatar first, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of committed. That's how people know me, so I'm going to play him. And once I started playing, I'm like, this guy's fucking good. He's really good. Holy shit. And oh, he's so much fun to play in that game. I still lose to Fireballs, though. I know he's supposed to beat them, but I don't practice the game ever. I mean, ever. I do okay in tournaments. I usually go 2-2, which is better than I should be doing. But yeah, it's just coincidence that I picked top tier in almost every game, I swear. Okay, next from Sapphire Assassin 246. She put this up just 2 days ago. She did not intend this to be on this Q&A, but tough, it's going on. You sound gay, are you? No, I am not. I'm not offended that you asked, don't worry. I know full well what my voice sounds like. It does sound gay, I can see that clearly. You're not the first one to ask, you won't be the last one to ask, but nope, I'm straight. Okay, next one comes from an anonymous user. He asked me, I'm assuming he asked me not to give out his name. I'm not going to question why, none of my business, but it's a very simple question, so anyway. Grog, you said that you had a lot of horror games, which I've said that quite a few times actually. Can you do a collection video? No worries if not, it's just a thought. Well, fuck it, why not? I'm going to see what I can do. I've got a setup. It's a very ghetto setup. I'm going to go through each horror game that I have and show them all to you. And I'm going to try and splice this Q&A with that video. It may be 2 parts, but if I can get it to work, it'll be 1 part. Alright, thanks for watching. I'm sorry, thanks for listening, because this is not a video, it's now an audio. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys keep watching. Okay, as requested, here is my collection video. I'm going to showcase every single horror game that I own. I mean, every single one that I own. This might be long. Depends how long I want to ramble. God damn, do I like to ramble. The actual Q&A ended up being 22 minutes. Jesus Christ. I left my air conditioner off and the fan off, so that's why my voice is very shaky. I don't know why. But also, the game I was talking about was Shadow of the Damned. And you're all thinking, yeah, no shit. But I don't keep up on new games, sorry. I'm not much of a gamer. Whatever. I'm going to attempt to put every game in front of the camera here in an alphabetical order, so let's get this shit started. First one I got, Alan Wake. Scott and I did a playthrough of this already. You can see this is a limited collector's edition, however I do not have the actual limited collector's edition. I only own this case and game. I think it has a manual in it, does it? Okay, at least it has a manual in it, but I actually got this used on eBay. It was very cheap, so I said why not. Next is the very original Alone in the Dark. This is the PC version. Right there. PC, CD-ROM. Very generic game. This is going to be a tough one to do a playthrough on. It no longer works on newer systems. I can always get like an old Windows emulator, but then you can't really record very well with that. So what I think I'm going to do like, I don't know the legality of this, but I'm going to do the, oh shit, what is it called? 3DO. There is a title of the same thing on 3DO. I'm going to emulate that. And then, we'll see how it works. It doesn't work very well, but definitely look for this in the future. And then, along with that, I couldn't resist this game. Very cheap. Alone in the Dark for Game Boy Color, in-box and everything. Let me open it up. I probably won't be able to close it again, but there's the game. The manual's in there too. I'm not going to pull it out. This is the 4th one. There is actually a 2nd and 3rd that were on PC. 2nd one came out on PSX also. It's called One-Eyed Jack's Revenge. This is the same thing, only for PlayStation. It's also on PS2 and Dreamcast, quite a few others. Ooh, that was a nice reflection of my light. And then the 5th Alone in the Dark. Nothing special there. Next we have Blue Stinger for Dreamcast. I don't know shit about it. There we go. Calling for Wii, which I've kind of started recording with Curtis. We're not too far into it at all. Don't expect to see this one anytime soon, sorry, but... Here we go, Call of the Cthulhu. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I don't know much about this. I know it's a point and click adventure style. That's all I know. Carrier. Damn, this reflects very well. Carrier, which is for Dreamcast, of course. Some of you saw me buy this in Chicago when I was with Phil and John. And these next two are very special to me. That's a weird way of putting it, but they're pretty hard to find games. Clock Tower for the PlayStation. It's the first Clock Tower that was launched in America. Of course, there's not the first Clock Tower, which is on the Super Famicom. Never released in America, but one of my favorite games of all time is that version. This is a direct sequel to that Super Nintendo one, Super Famicom one. And then even rarer, Clock Tower 2. This one is actually the third. It has nothing to do with the first two games. They call it Clock Tower 2 in America because it's the second one that was launched in America. And then, of course, you've seen this playthrough, Clock Tower 3. I do not have a case for this. It's called Cold Fear. We got it from what I call the orphan bin at GameStop. Yeah, fuck GameStop, I know. Damn, this thing hasn't even been opened yet. It's still sealed. Don't know anything about that. Next, Condemned. I wasn't sure if this is actually a horror game, but it sounds like it does environments really well. Unfortunately, it's really dark. Never played it. I will eventually. And then I don't have a case for it, but Condemned 2, of course. This next one I was really hesitant to buy. Constantine. That's the shitty movie with Keanu Reeves. And I was really hesitant to actually get it, but I hear the game itself is actually really good. We'll see. Now for the next game that we're going to put up, Cursed Mountain for the Wii. Yeah, I didn't hear about it either until I saw it. Then we have the infamous D. And the sequel, a very, very uniquely titled D2. You can see that's Laura on the cover. Has nothing to do with the first D. It's not even a sequel. It just has her. She's supposed to be an E actress is what they're trying to do back in the day. Have the same sprites, the same characters appear in different games. Dead Island, of course. You're going to see a lot of deads right here. This might be one of my favorite games of all time. Deadly Premonition. Absolutely love it. And then, of course, Dead Rising. Dead Rising 2. Dead Space. I played a little bit of this. I really enjoyed it. It seems really like Doom 3. I do not own the second one, though. I'm in no rush. It's still a little bit expensive. I don't want to pay more than 20 bucks for it. This one I've never really heard of. I just looked up on other people's horror game lists. Death Crimson. Apparently it's a light gun shooter for the Dreamcast. Probably have to emulate that one. Dino Crisis. Do not own the second one. Third one is actually Xbox only, and it is not backwards compatible, so I will never own the third Dino Crisis. Echo Knight. Another point-and-click adventure style. There's another Echo Knight that was not launched in the US. And then the third one on PS2. Another extremely good game, Eternal Darkness for the GameCube. That's actually really hard to find until I got it. It's one of those cases where I just could not find that game, and then once I bought it, it's everywhere. Next ones. I love this game and I fucking loathe this game. Fatal Frame. You'll see it's for Xbox. That's because I owned an Xbox way before I owned a PS2. Put that there. Fatal Frame 2. Also for Xbox. And then Fatal Frame 3 I got after I finally got my PS2. First time I ever owned a PS2. I know I'm 11 years late, whatever, but you'll notice there's no Fatal Frame 4. That was not launched in America. It's a Wii exclusive, Japan-only title. You can pirate it, but I'm not a fan of pirating. Well, I'll take that back. I'm not a fan of pirating and then uploading it on YouTube. That was a cat toy. Sorry about that. I was on my knees. I had to sit down. Next is Fear, which I'm playing through right now. These are expansions for it, Fear files. I know you can download this, but I wanted the case. I'm a big fan of case and discs. Fear 2. And I do not have Fear 3. Same case as Dead Rising 2. Oh, not Dead Rising 2. Dead Space 2. Just a bit more expensive than I want to pay for right now. Especially when I haven't even played this all the way through the first and the second one. So I got plenty of time. It's not going anywhere. Next one, I mentioned this in the Q&A. Friday the 13th. Yeah, I'll hold it up. Yeah, I'll be playing through it. Why not? But do I count as a true survival horror? Probably not. And then this one I'd only heard of. Well, I actually saw the game, and then I looked it up, and it's on some people's lists of horror games. It's not a survival horror. It's more of a Western-based with horror Western shooter with horror themes in it. And apparently it's really fun though, so I'll give it a try. In like 2 years maybe when I actually get to it. And now this one you're gonna laugh, but God, this is in such shitty condition. Haunted House for the Atari. Like I said, I want to own every game that's on that playthrough, and this is part of the collection. It's the very first horror game. This one I really shouldn't put it up because then you guys want me to do the first half. Haunting Ground, such a good game. I loved it. This is the game I tested out the camcording equipment with. This is the one that was the very first game to upload. Eventually we will do the first half of it. Again, don't hold your breath on it. I'm going to do it with Sonny again, and he's really burnt out on that game, so it's going to be at least a year. At least. Next we have House of the Dead. Again, not survival horror, more just horror. You're not really surviving, it's a rail-based shooter. 2 and 3. You cannot get a good console version of the first one. It was out on Xbox and I think Sega Saturn. Of course, it's not backwards compatible, and I do not own an original Xbox, and I'm not going to buy one either. I also do not have Overkill. That's one I do want to find. I won't spend more than 10 bucks on Overkill, though. I'm a cheap bastard, I know. Gotta mess 1 second here. And then Jericho. This is an FPS game. I'm terrible about those. I'm putting this one off for a while. You all know this one all too well. Ju-On the Grudge. And then it just happens to rhyme with Ju-On as Ku-On. From what I hear, it's kind of like a Fatal Frame clone, only more of a slasher than take pictures. Doesn't really give you much detail there. Well, of course, then Left 4 Dead. You've seen that. And Left 4 Dead 2. All these next ones, again, they're alphabetical. PSX titles. Martian Gothic, another point-and-click adventure style. It says it's scary. We'll see. And then Nightmare Creatures. Well, I hear this game's bad. And the second one to boot. I don't have an actual case for the second one, though. That is the actual manual, so that is what the case would look like. What comes after Nightmare Creatures? Nightmare on Elm Street. I've never beaten this game. It's actually really tough. It's just a side-scroller beat 'em up. Only it's pretty long and it's pretty unforgiving. You can do 4-player co-op on that, though. It is one of the few NES titles that you can do 4-player co-op on. Obscure, one of the first co-op horror games I've ever played. I would say if it was single-player only, this game would be a stinker. But the co-op in it made it actually really fun. And then Obscure, The Aftermath. Funny story behind Obscure. Me and Sonny and another friend of ours he's no longer in Iowa, so he doesn't really hang out with us much, unfortunately. When he was here, we went to, I think it was a video store, Family Video I think is what it's called, and his exact words were, we were looking through and he said, I want to find a game I've never played, something obscure. And then on the R of obscure, he looked and right in front of his nose was obscure. So we said, let's rent it. And we beat it in just a couple nights. It's a lot of fun. Now I'm going to need to drink here real quick. Ah, much better. I'm kind of hesitant to put this next one up also. I'll say this right now. I am not doing a playthrough of it. You're going to ask me why. I just don't want to. Parasite Eve. Very good game. It's too RPG-ish for me to do a playthrough on. It'll be too long. I don't know. I don't think of it as a true survival horror. Despite that breaking the rules of every other game I'm doing, like Dead Rising is not a survival horror. I don't know. If I do this, it will be very, very close to the end of all these games that you're seeing. And then we have this giant pile I like to call the Resident Evil pile. Director's Cut, the very first one. I do not own the original Resident Evil, I only don't own Director's Cut. I don't like to own just like multiples of the same game, really. Then we have, it's usually called Remake. It's like the R and E in Remake are capitalized, which stand for Resident Evil, then Make. It's a nice abbreviation. Very, very solid game. This will happen eventually. We'll try and speedrun it or something. And then to go against everything I just said, here's 2 copies of Resident Evil 2. There's a reasoning behind it. I got this first. I found it kind of cheap, actually, for GameCube, which was very uncommon. I said, yeah, let's do it. It'll probably look better. Dreamcasts are very unreliable consoles, so I didn't really want to have a copy of it on Dreamcast. But Sonny insisted that we did it, because all the other... Oh, that's like a perfect reflection of my closet, sorry. All of the other Resident Evil 2 titles that aren't Dreamcast and PC do not have hard mode. This is the only console that has hard mode, and PC also has hard mode. And when we do this playthrough, he wants it on hard. So I got the GameCube one first, and I found this. This is actually a rare game to find. It's not like your gold cartridge for NES or whatever, for the World Challenge Cups or whatever they're called, but I would say probably $30 average is what I found it for online. Next, of course, be Nemesis with a nice crack across my case. This is the one that came with the Dino Crisis demo, which I was going to show you, but the case doesn't want to open right now, so we're gonna... Oh, it doesn't want to close now either. So I guess we will show you Dino Crisis here in a second. This is embarrassing, sorry about that. Okay, we're gonna put that over here because it's not closing. Damn thing's broken. Code Verona X. Again, I got it on GameCube because I found it on GameCube. I don't want to do Dreamcasts. Put you here. And again, contrary to what I just said, Dreamcast. When Sonny told me he wanted to do Resident Evil 2 on Dreamcast, for some reason I got it in my head that he wanted to do Code Veronica on Dreamcast instead. And so I found this for $4.95. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's really cheap. I'll get that right away. Wrong one. I'm going to work with Nemesis just for a little bit here. Alright, got it closed. Good enough. And then we have Resident Evil 0. I've never played this. I know the story, but never played it. Resident Evil 4. Despite all the different versions that are out there, I only own the Wii version, and I think it's extremely good on the Wii, actually. Now, this one I do not have a case for. Resident Evil 5. The reasoning behind that is because I was never going to buy this. I got this before I started my game collection, my horror game collection. Movie store shut down, and they're selling a bunch of games for very, very cheap. I got that for $4 when it was new. I said, how can I say no to that? Next are Resident Evil Outbreak, Resident Evil Outbreak File 2. Running out of space. Yeah, good enough. And then the next is the only other series in Resident Evil right now, except for the handhelds. Resident Evil Survivor, which is a railgun shooter. Resident Evil Dead Aim, also another railgun shooter. And then the railgun shooter for the Wii, Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. I do not own Darkside Chronicles yet. It's still too expensive for me. I have not found it for less than, like... Once I found it for 15, but that's a bit expensive for what I want to spend on it. Again, I don't want to spend more than 10 on a railgun shooter. Let me clear these out. Another Orphan Bin rescue, Run Like Hell. This game, apparently, from every single person who's ever played it, says it's complete and utter balls. In fact, it's not even really survival horror, it's more horror themed. But it was for, let's see, how much was that? $2.99 right there, you can see. Yeah, GameStop, whatever. So I said $2.99, fuck it, why not? Let me lean forward here, get the rest of this pile. Almost done, guys. Saw 2. I do not have the first one. These are too expensive for what they are. They are knockoffs of the movies in game form. I got this on Newegg. It went on sale for like $16 with free shipping. Normally in game stores it's 30 bucks. Fuck that. The first one's still 25. I don't want to spend more than 15 on that first one. Now this next one, I'm going to say I was very lucky to find. I mentioned it in the Q&A. Shadowgate for the NES in box. That's having a boxed NES game. Let me open that up for you. Is to me very, very special. You're not going to find that often. Here's the cartridge. I think it came with manual and everything too. Yeah, there's the protective case, and it's really in there. Sorry. And here's manual. So go me for finding that. It was only $5 for that. How could I say no? I actually already owned a copy of that cartridge. And so I've traded that other cartridge in because it wasn't working so well anyway. And I got this one. Putting everything back in, sorry. In enough. Okay, just coincidence. This is my handful I grabbed. What comes after SH would be SI, as in Silent Hill. Black Label. In Chicago, you saw that I bought the manual for it because I was missing the case. I did find this case pretty cheap. So there we go. That playthrough will come up after Cursed Mountain. Silent Hill 2. You can't really see it because of the damn sticker, but Silent Hill 2. Again, it's the Xbox version. PS2 version is vastly, vastly superior to this one. This one does not do backwards compatibility very well at all, so when we do the playthrough, it will be on PS2. Silent Hill 3, probably my favorite Silent Hill. One of the scariest games I've ever played also. For The Room, also, I got this on Xbox before I got the PS2. This one does a lot better in backwards compatibility. Never played it though. Origins, still never played it. I hear it's very meh. I hear it's more movie-like, but whatever. Homecoming, of course, which I have a playthrough of. And then Shattered Memories, the Wii version. The motion controls on that suck. You gotta throw your Wiimote against the wall to get those things off of you sometimes. It's not good. Okay, the controls are not good. The game is phenomenal, I think. It's a very well made game. I'll say this right now already. We will be doing a playthrough. We're making Scott play it just because he doesn't play games. But there's a point where you know you're always safe. And I'll leave it at that. Alright, let me get this out of the way. And coming down to the end, just a couple more. Siren. This is one of the hardest horror games ever made, apparently. Sonny's tried beating it. He's had this for years. Like, you can't progress in the story without finding a small little piece of paper like the size of a bubblegum wrapper on a wall, and the texture doesn't stand out or anything. It's really tough. Monsters respawn, they have guns that can shoot you through walls. It's pretty bullshit from what I hear, so that'll be a rage fest when we get to it. It should be fun. From what I can hear, The Suffering is actually a really good game. Suffering 2, on the other hand, not so much, but they'll both be played. These aren't getting played in any order, by the way. Next is The Thing, based on the movie The Thing from the 80s, which is one of the scariest movies of all time, apparently. You're stuck in the Antarctic, and someone in your group is a shapeshifter who's killing you all off. You don't know who's with you, who's against you. Should be good times. And the next is another good find I got. Now, this game is actually pretty rare. I'd put it right up there with like Clock Tower 2, maybe rare. We're not talking like hundreds of dollars. Probably just under 50 or something. Uninvited for NES. I have a playthrough of that. Very short. You should watch it. It's pretty fun. It's my first single player. I got the manual with it. And when it came here, they said in box, but look at this shit. They folded it and taped it together. That might help if it was right side up, eh? But nonetheless, it's still nice to have. Better than nothing at all. And there you go. That's every single horror game that I own a hard copy of. Of course, I can't show you like Amnesia or the Penumbra series or anything like that. If they did have hard copies, you bet your ass I'd have them. I have a list here of games that... Here, I'll just... Here, look at Uninvited. I have a list of games here that I'm still looking to buy. NES is Chiller. That game is stupid expensive. It is a non-licensed NES game. Nintendo did not license it. It's a really bad game too. I'll do a playthrough. I'll just fucking emulate that one. I don't care. I'm gonna take another drink here. Really hot in here for some reason. My throat's drying out. For Game Boy, I want Resident Evil Gaiden. Again, another really expensive game. Usually $30 for cartridge only. A bit more than I want to spend. PlayStation. Like I said, Alone in the Dark 2 is called Alone in the Dark One-Eyed Jack's Revenge. I want to get that. Not too expensive, actually. It's one of those games where it's cheap enough where I don't want to spend shipping on it online, because then that really doesn't make it too cheap. So I'm waiting to find it locally. We have three shops here in Des Moines where you can get used games all the way back to Atari. And so we're really, really spoiled with that kind of stuff. Next on PlayStation is Dino Crisis 2. And then Juggernaut, which I hear is pretty decent, pretty scary. It's a 3-disc game. Hopefully it's not 3-disc like D is 3-disc. It's a legitimate 3-disc game. We'll see. Dreamcast, I want Confidential Mission. I don't think that's too much of a horror game. It shows up on people's lists for some reason, but when I read into it, it's not too horror-ish. Then there's Illbleed, which is another really rare game for some reason. And The Ring, which is based off of the movie. PS2, Rule of Rose. It is made by Atlas. It's meh, but again, I want to collect every game. And that one, again, is really expensive. Most of these games are expensive or new. For Wii is Dead Space Extraction. I don't want to spend more than $10 on a rail shooter. And usually that one, locally it's about 15 plus, maybe 20 bucks. Yeah, I'm cheap. Whatever. Fatal Frame 4. I'm torn. That game's 80 bucks on eBay, usually, on average. I can always get a mod chip, which you can make Japanese games have English text on it. You just put your SD card into it and they'll load the text for that game. I just don't want to spend that kind of money on it. Especially for how little I want to play Fatal Frame right now after not even finishing the first one. Then Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles. Again, I don't want to spend more than 10 bucks on a rail shooter. And House of the Dead Overkill, same deal. And I just haven't found it at $10 yet. That's actually the only reason why I have House of the Dead 2 and 3 is because I actually got it for $6 on eBay with $4 shipping. Then finally for 360 is Dead Space 2, Fear 3, and the first Saw, which I've all mentioned. Alright, that's every game I have. Thanks for going through all this. I'm sure you are going to beg for the amount of time I've taken back from your life. But guess what? It's mine now. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.